Hey everyone, welcome back to Automation. So today is a special day because we're going to be doing something I have not done before, and that is make a homologation special. For those of you who are new to cars and maybe you don't know what a homologation special is, I figured I'd take a little bit of time to explain that and give some examples, but you might recognize some of these. Essentially, a homologation special is when a manufacturer is competing in a racing series, and that racing series requires the cars to be based on road cars, like models that actually get produced and sold, instead of just like fancy carbon fiber one-off bodies and such. So what manufacturers will do is they'll make a limited number of special cars, and then technically that car is a production car now, say they make 100 of them and then sell them. And then they can use that car or that chassis in racing. Homologation specials are basically just a way to get around the rules of those racing series by making cars that are limited but extremely special, and usually they have some ridiculous features in order to get them into the racing series. But it doesn't always have to be a whole chassis. Sometimes it can just be bodywork, sometimes it's just engines. Sometimes the cars are made for a series and then they don't actually end up competing in them, so it doesn't really matter anyways. But that's the wide world of homologation specials. Stealing from an article from goodwood.com, which I'll have linked in the description, we have some pretty crazy homologation specials as examples. First one being the Porsche 911 GT1. Absolutely insane looking car. This is not the kind of thing that you would think about as a road car, and that's because it isn't. It's a race car that they then sold in a limited production for the street, only so that they could bring it into a racing series. Same thing with the Ford RS200. Although this one is for rally, it doesn't have to be a road racing series, it can be rally also. This is a Group B car. A much more popular car, which you almost definitely have heard about, would be the BMW M3, another homologation vehicle that ended up spawning into a whole series of M3s. This was just the beginning. And finally, probably my favorite is the Mercedes CLK GTR. Just look at the bodywork on this car. It is absolutely mental, and pretty much the entire reason that I would like to get a Mercedes CLK. Although, I mean, this thing is mid-engine V12, so it's a little bit different. There are tons more examples, and I would encourage you to talk about them in the comments. Be sure to write down what your favorite homologation special is, because there are tons of them. And it doesn't have to be a whole car. Sometimes they just took a regular vehicle, slapped some bodywork on it, and then that was the special. So, less interesting, but that's pretty much what we're going to do today. The car that we're going to be doing this with is my latest creation from the past video. Again, link in the description, or just check out my channel if you want to see the initial build. But this car was made basically to just be a quick street car. It was originally meant to be the hottest of hot hatches, but it turned out to be hot, but maybe not searing as I wanted it to be. 295 horses, inline 4, turbo, front-wheel drive, and it's a pretty cool car overall. Another Bugo or Yugo creation for those of you who are into my channel. So what are we going to do to homologate this car into a road racing series? Originally I was going to do rally, but then somebody on the Discord made a really mint-looking rally special, and honestly I cannot top this, so hats off to the creator of this vehicle. Absolutely amazing. I'm going to have to do my own thing because this is just too good. So I've gone ahead and given it a proper name, and it's time that we put some bodywork on this car to change it up a little bit. So because this is a full clone, I can go ahead and just do whatever I want to this vehicle. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to make it all-wheel drive, because yes, I think this car deserves all-wheel drive. So that means no more torsion beam, we're going to go double wishbone on the back as well. While this engine is excellent, and it is a nice 295 horsepower, 1.7 liter inline 4, I just kind of felt like this car needed a V6, so we're going to do a 60-degree V6, which is a smaller variant. If you're thinking about 60-degree V6s and you don't have any that ring a bell, think J-series Honda engine, like Honda Odyssey. Everything is broken at the moment because it's still turboed, but yeah, let me just... Oh my goodness, everything is very broken right now. So I want to do a small V6. It's currently a 2.3 liter, making 350 horsepower. That is a 50 horsepower-ish bump over what we were doing before, and obviously I haven't tuned it yet. Keeping it pretty much the same internally, so it's going to be forged stuff and VVT, so it's going to have VTEC, at least fake VTEC. Ah, man, turbo. Should we stick with the turbo or should we go naturally aspirated? That is actually a tough problem, isn't it? Turbo is just way too fun. So let's go single turbo with the boost control. We're probably going to need a bigger intercooler, and I'm just going to have to spend some time tuning this. As this is a race car, I'm going to go ahead and do a twin configuration. So it doesn't have ITBs, but it does have one intake per cylinder bank, basically. So that's going to give us a lot more performance, a lot better intake, which also means, again, we're making 400 horsepower. That is a 100 horsepower bump. My goal is approximately 600. We'll kind of have to see where we end up with this. I'm going to go ahead and hit an AI tune for power and see if that gives me anything decent. Okay, knocking 100% is always lovely. So I was saying before that 600 was kind of my goal. Going up from 300 to 500 doesn't seem like that much, but going from 300 in a turbo car, four-cylinder turbo, up to 500 in a V6 turbo, the torque difference is astonishing. Also, nice high 8,200 RPM limit. I'm actually liking the cleanliness of this 500 horsepower, so I think I'm going to stick there for now. Maybe it's not enough and we'll have to come back. But this is going to be the engine. I cut down on the overdrive a little bit, so it still revs all the way up to 88 before it kind of gives up, but max power at 82. I'll have to keep that in mind for our racing testing later. By the way, this is all assuming that I can even get all-wheel drive into this car. Oh, thank goodness. If you make stuff too big, it sometimes will not fit, but today, thankfully, we're good. So this car is intended to go road racing. I honestly don't know very much about the classes that are currently going on in terms of like racing series. As much as I'm into cars, I just don't watch TV or anything really. Like I watch the rally, like the WRC highlights. That's pretty much it for motorsport for me. That being said, I'm going to design this kind of in what I envision a GTR car would be out of this hatchback. For those of you who know anything about racing, this might be like, what the heck is he doing? But just let me cook, okay? I'm going to come up with something good here. First thing we're going to do is we're going to widen the fenders pretty much as humanly possible. And then I'm also going to give this car box fenders because I like box fenders. Let me see what else we can do. Paint is a tricky one because I want to do sponsors and I want to give this a livery. So we're going to have to come back to that, but for now I'm actually just going to change the blue color that I've been using to a white-ish color. Just take out the flake, I guess, take off some of that shine, and send it. I like when these cars kind of look good in white. This is what a lot of these cars look like before they get wrapped with a livery. Generally speaking, before I go too far with these cars, I almost always jump into the settings here so we can give it as much offset as it requires, just so we can get that stance sort of maxed out. That is a wide hatchback though, my goodness. I'm liking it. Okay, this car's all-wheel drive now, but it is still going to be very front heavy. There is a big transverse V6 and turbo hanging out in the front of this car. So we're going to need big wheels on the front is what I'm trying to say. Let's do 255s on the front and 255s on the back, and I'll have to see and adjust as we need to for the tuning. Alright, so I've gone through and I've touched a few things that are, well, kind of necessary, I guess, to making the car look the part that I want it to. Obviously now we have wide wheels, we have some massive exhaust pipe sticking out the bottom, which is actually a bit of a problem that it hangs down so low, but thankfully this is not a rally. One of the things that I wanted to do though is the ride height is a little bit too high. So now that I've essentially dropped the car down onto the ground and the rear tuck is incredible, I feel like I'm making some kids jealous in the Walmart parking lot. I'm going to cut out some of the stuff that we don't need anymore, like back seats. Those are definitely optional. This cover I might keep. We might have to like extend it down or something to sort of fake in that area. These seats are going to change as well. We'll put in some racing gear, and everything else can probably stay. So one of the things that I just immediately changed there was now all the body panels here are made out of carbon fiber. I just think that looks cool, and yeah, it sort of gives a little bit of difference between this car and the road-going version as well. Obviously this is not enough. We need to do quite a bit more. First thing I'm going to do is slap on some sports rims. I kind of love the rotiform wheels. That's what I've been going for pretty much all my cars, including this one previously had them. But like stuff like this, man, is just looks great. I don't know what else to say. Something I often make the mistake of doing is I design the entire car and then I go back and do the like extra stuff, I guess. In this case, that would be like decals and fancy stuff like that. You can see where I've gotten so far, but I'm not quite done yet because a lot of times there's a sponsor on the intercooler. So I'm going to slap one on there real quick. Easiest way to do that is actually, well, it's not difficult, but it's going to take a minute. There we go. That is the perfect sponsor for this car, I think. Basically, I'm just going to get this, blow it up nice and big. It's hovering. You can see that here. So you just got to take it 3D and then push it back. Not too far back, but just back enough. And there we go. We got a sponsor on the intercooler and with a little bit of a dark intercooler as well. It looks really cool. At least I think so. Man, I've got so many ideas for this car. It's hard to kind of settle things down, honestly, and make it somewhat realistic. Because at the moment, it's getting a little bit wild here. I was going to do big box flares, and then I kind of like, they don't look good, man. So I'm going to do, instead, some meaty side skirts, and we're going to do like a nice cut back end, because I love cutting the back end on these cars. You can see as well the wheels I've chosen. There's a text thing on them, which is a bit of a problem, but I love the wheels, so I don't know. I might have to raise the back specifically to accommodate that, just because I like the wheels so much. Alright, I've cut out the back pretty significantly. It's a bit of a big cut. That's okay though, big cuts are what I'm all about here. The front end is looking different. I've kind of tried to do something different with the hood scoop, just trying to make something cool. It doesn't have to make sense. That's the key part of this. I was thinking as I was building this, I'm like, man, I should have gone mid-engine. Although I'm not even sure if this body can take that, but oh well. Front engine for now. Maybe we'll make a ridiculous... This is the GTR version. We're going to have to make a GTR Black Edition version with a mid, like, V12 or something. Maybe next week. Who knows? Genuinely, I plan these videos in my head usually a couple hours before I actually make them. Yeah, that's the best way to do it. Alright, so last week I spoke about wanting to put a whale tail on this car, and I have kind of just gone ahead and done just that, except I added a couple auxiliary wings here. It's going to have a lot of rear downforce, which is excellent, and I'm very excited about the giganticness of this whale tail. The back end of this is absolutely brilliant. I am super, super pleased with it. Front end is okay, definitely interesting, definitely different. Maybe not as different as I was hoping it would be. I guess I could do some other stuff to try and change it up a little bit, but at the moment, it's pretty much the same. Okay, it's probably time that I did a livery. It's been a while since I did something like this. Everything else is looking pretty good. I don't know, is this a homologation special? In my imagination, yes, but is there a racing series where you'd see one of these? No, probably just your local autocross. This is basically a V6 turbo all-wheel drive variant of the previous car, and my whole idea with this was just that, say Sestava, which is the brand that I've created, wants to bring the Boral into motorsport, they would have to make a limited edition version like this, with hot parts like the V6, the all-wheel drive conversion, and the better rear suspension, obviously, for this sort of setup. To be able to compete in that racing series. It probably works best in rally with that exact setup, but obviously this isn't rally, so yeah. I think it's cool though. I think it's really cool. The back end just screams 2000 Honda Civic to me, especially with the Need for Speed Most Wanted piece that I've put on the back. A good touch, I would say. So yeah, now we need to work on a livery. I actually thought about some stuff I wanted to do in this area before, and now I've completely forgotten all of it, so I'm just going to have to start slapping and see what happens. Liveries are pretty difficult in this game, and the reason is mostly just because it takes a long time to place each individual piece. And while you only have to do it on one side thanks to the mirror command, it's still a lot. I'm really, really bad at these, but I'm trying my best. I've decided to paint the car a weird shade of blue because I think that's kind of fun, and I'm giving it gold trim, which is also slightly yellowish, and I'm thinking I'll probably do a big racing stripe all the way down the back end as well. So it's going to be a glue theme. No, it's going to be a blue and gold theme, which is now forever going to be termed the glue theme. Now, obviously, sponsors are not going to be on a homologation special, but now I've just gone ahead and just made this into a race car. So, yeah, we get what we get. And in this case, we're getting a full-on livery. I kind of realized that partway through this, I'm like, you know what? I'm just going for it. I'm just going to do what I want to do. All right, I think I'm done. Full-on racing version here. Mega Budget Auto and a bunch of other brands on there. I just kind of started putting some stuff in, and this is how it turned out. I think it's pretty good, though. I like the way that the car looks, and that's pretty much all that matters, honestly. So I'm just going to put that up on the front there, and then actually let's put that on the window. Yeah, that's... Yeah, they can see. They're still good. But it's time that I finished off the rest of this car because I still haven't done the drivetrain. It's still an all-wheel drive. Okay, well, it was an all-wheel drive before, but manual, 6-speed. Let's go into the graphs here. Currently, it thinks it can do 302, which is actually not as much as I thought it would. Aerodynamics is probably a... Yeah. I've gone for a race diffuser setup here, which means we're actually making downforce quite a significant amount on the rear as well, which is great. I'll give it a little bit of brake airflow. This is supposed to be a race car. The car is bottoming out at high speed. I don't particularly care about that. One of the things I wanted to do actually was raise the suspension up just a little bit. I felt it was a little too low, and that fixes it. Back into the specs. So if you're interested in graphs, then I have a whole bunch of them for you. Currently, I think, man, I want to do sequential. Let's just do dual clutch. Wheel spin graph, we actually don't have that much, even though this thing has 500 horsepower, even with an electric LSD. Pretty decent power distribution. I think I got it pretty much exactly where it needs to be there, although the game doesn't like it. Okay, now the game is fine. Everything here actually looks pretty decent. Increasing the tire size at the front will give us more sportiness, but this is an all-wheel drive car, so it should be all the way around the same. 270s are massive. Yeah, this is going to be good. Carbon ceramic discs and stuff, I have it pretty much as big as it can be. Everything here, the brakes are a little weak actually, but I think it'll be fine. Interior, we're going to cut a lot of stuff out of this. Basic interior, no entertainment at all, and we'll cut out the back seats entirely, so that should help with these graphs, and also the weight of the car, which is something I was a little bit concerned about. We're going manual rack and pinion steering, and the safety is going to stay advanced just to basically simulate what it would be like if it had a roll cage in it. Safety stuff on these cars is very important. And it comes in at 1420 kilos. That's actually a little bit heavier than I want. Even with the V6, I mean, it's about the same as it was before, but we can optimize for weight, or we can do what I probably should have done way at the beginning of this and make the panels on the car out of aluminum, which should cut quite a bit off. And the chassis I'm also going to make out of light AHS steel should be good enough for this car. So it's like partially steel, partially aluminum, much lighter, and a lot different from the road car. Taking a look at things, that's down 200 kilos, which is a significant amount, and it means I'm going to have to go back and do all that again. Alright, I think I'm ready to take the Boral GTR into BeamNG to take it out for a spin, and I'm excited to see how fast this thing is with all-wheel drive. It's looking good. What do you think? Drop me a comment and let me know. Alright, so here is the original Boral as it was created last week, and we got the new fancy schmancy one over there, but I figured we'd come to the Hirochi Raceway and just kind of see what these cars can do. Now this is the figure 8, so this is not exactly the full-on race course, Obviously, that one is going to be faster over there, but I just wanted to do a small comparison. Nothing crazy. And over to our new one. Yeah, the carbon fiber kind of came in white, unfortunately, which is what carbon fiber does, and I completely forgot that I have to recolor it. But, ooh. That's a little bit different than a stock Boral in terms of sound. That is a bit of a ripping noise this thing makes. I'm excited. Let's go for a drive. Oh my goodness. Wow. This is a DTM car. This is not a homologation special. I have entirely failed, but I have succeeded at the same time. Oh my goodness, it's so fast. What on this earth? I'm extremely pleased with this, if you couldn't tell. Just due to the nature of these cars, I kind of just assumed that this oval track would be probably good enough, but I underestimated the power of 500 horses and all-wheel drive. Oh, I suck. Never mind, I'm pretty good. Let's go off the ramp. And into the predecessor. Yes. Alright, let's do a real track. Alright, so my goal here is really just to see how controllable it is. I didn't spend enough time on the suspension, I can tell you that. And the brakes are probably going to be a little bit off as well. I am running ABS and I'm running ESC as well. And again, dual clutch makes things a little bit easier. I'm not shifting for myself. But ABS saves me from situations like that where I run off to the side and crash and smash and all that stuff. I'm gonna say, ooh, I was just about to say the Boral GTR is a smash hit. The noises it makes are absolutely intoxicating. The single turbo 60-degree V6 is an absolute ripper of an engine and definitely underrated, at least in terms of my ideas of things. Almost always I go 90 degrees. In this case, yeah, no, 60 degrees is king. Just because, I mean, it's only 2.3 liters, it's a tiny engine, but that turbo, and this exhaust sound, oh, yeah, I like it. It's 500 horsepower out of a relatively small package, and it being all aluminum is fairly light as well, so it's just kind of a good setup for this car, and I think it'll be a good setup in the mid-engine department as well of this car's GTR Black Edition, which we may or may not do next week if you're interested. Oh, come on. 200 Ks on the straight. Oh my goodness. Yeah, you can see why I don't really do these like driving showcases too often. I'm not really the best at taking these corners at the proper apex or at the proper speed or anything like that. I mean, I can drive, I can get around the course, but I'm definitely no driving champion. I was actually pretty impressed by the response on the last video. I'm very thankful that you guys are down with some more cool stuff coming up, my own unique designs and things that are different than just a gimmicky vehicle, as I often create. This one is maybe a little bit gimmicky, but it is a hottened version of a previous non-gimmick vehicle, so I don't know. It's pretty cool. But I'm interested to hear your thoughts on this Boral GTR in the comments below. Let me know what you think of it. Let me know if you want to see more from this car, and I don't mean to do it 3 weeks in a row, but I'm kind of feeling it. I have a lot of ideas for stuff, and I've put them on hold to make more of these random hatchbacks, just because I like doing it so much. Man, oh man, I gotta resurrect my Tibron soon. It's almost time to break that thing out of hibernation. I actually might buy a battery this weekend and then put out a video on its initial resurrection. It just has been missing a battery for about a year now, so I've got to stop being cheap and just buy one. By the way, as a road car, this thing doesn't make any sense at all. Obviously, the delivery is not doing it any favors, but the speed limit isn't either. It definitely wants to go fast. This car was not made to go slowly. It was made to be 200 kilometers an hour on the straights of the Hirochi Raceway, and then probably falling apart in the pit lane. But until next time, guys, thank you for watching this video. Hopefully you enjoyed it, and I'm curious as always to hear your thoughts on the matter. What do you think of this car? What do you think I should build next? Let me know in the comments, and if you enjoyed this video and you want to see more like it, be sure to subscribe to this channel for more videos like this, and more videos in general. I intend to make other stuff too. Just gotta get some time to be able to do it. But yeah, like this video if you liked it, and I'll see you again very soon. Just want to give a special shout out to the members who just joined up as of last week after I mentioned it in the video. Thank you so much. I appreciate you guys partnering with me on this journey of YouTube creation as I continue to make more stuff. Yeah, stick around. But V8 tier is where we're at now, boys. It's time to thank the best of the best. Specifically Overlord, QT Bear QT, Terry01, Sinlab, G.A. Pope, Davis Heister, Baja Blast, Goofy Plays, Phoenix Shark Badger, Mancini Country, Shadow Jasper, and I Look Vul High Milk. I can't pronounce names very well, but I'm going to try my best. Specifically for you and also the other people in my life that have weird names that I cannot pronounce. Apologies in advance, and I just called your name weird. Whoops. See you again next week.